Hey guys, welcome to the Purple People podcast. So glad you joined us tonight. I'm Kyle Smith. I'm joined by Adam Carlson. What's up, man? How are you doing?
Not too bad. It's been a while since I've gotten to hang out and talk some Vikings football. 17 days since we last did the podcast. Man, that don't feel right.
We'll get it back on track. We're missing Dorian and Kyle tonight. They'll be back soon. We've got a lot of scheduling stuff going on, so thanks for being patient with us. A lot of moving parts here, but we're going to fill you in, which I know the downside is we were out for a little over 2 weeks, but the good thing is we'll have a jam-packed show right now. And it's really exciting because it's currently the 19th of April, which means next week is the NFL draft.
It's true.
So that's cool. We'll talk some draft stuff later, but as the notes have it, this is episode number 344, right on schedule. And we got a lot of stuff to jump into. So I'll let you lead it off, Adam.
All right. So first, let's go all the way back to guess what? The AAF folded.
This is sad. We're laughing at it right now, but that's really sad because a lot of these guys were getting a second chance, and a lot of them did since they shined. And we can tie this in with former Vikings. They did get signed and picked up now, but that really sucks, man. I was hoping that was going to do better than that.
I watched the first couple games. Some former Vikings were really shining, which was nice to see. I enjoyed watching some football, even though I felt like it was too close to the Super Bowl. It should have been like spaced out a little bit, maybe centered a bit in the middle of the season or something,
Right.
or in the middle of when there was no football. I don't know. But to me, it was just a little bit too crammed and rushed. And I understand that they had to take out some extra money even before they folded. So it's not like they didn't give it a good try. They just really didn't plan it out well.
Yeah, I feel like we talked about this recently, or maybe it was something I listened to. Could be one of the things. Maybe it was our side conversation. Me and Adam and Kyle and Dorian were always talking on our Facebook Messenger, but it's one of the reasons why Vince McMahon's a genius for the XFL. He gave it a year. He said, "I'm going to wait. I'm going to see all the kinks and see where the culture is changing. I'm going to see where we are with certain things in the country and." Like I already said, culture, pop culture, see where we're at with the attitude and all this stuff. And I mean, it looks like a smart move from now. Like I said, I'm not in any way advocating that the AAF failed, but this was, this was kind of shocking to me. You know what I mean? I didn't see this coming at all. But I agree with you on that. They should have spaced it out a little bit. Football that's not on NFL level right after the highest peak of the NFL could have waited about a month or two.
Yeah.
Around.
Now the Vikings falling out, there was some good Vikings followed from the AAF disintegrating. So there were some players that got picked up that show a lot of potential. Duke Thomas, Dorian Smith both got picked up, which looked like interesting options. Same with Greer Martini, which is an amazing name. He's a linebacker, and defensive back Jordan Martin. The one that's got me pretty excited was the Vikings signing Carter Schultz. And he was an absolute wrecking ball of a defensive end in the AAF. He seemed to really get into his own. And it's one of the reasons why when I did my mock draft this year, I didn't include a defensive end. I think the defensive ends, the way they are in the Vikings right now, there's so much depth and talent that to add another body to that would just kind of be like throwing someone to maybe the practice squad or just a guy to bring into camp and then cut. And you don't want that at all.
Yeah, no, not at all. I think that's interesting, man. For all the things that we have on this team as far as depth goes, I didn't think of defensive end being the number up at the top, maybe number one or number two. But looking at it now, man, that's pretty interesting. You mentioned that. It looks to be, for now, knock on wood, we're pretty set. It's always a good thing to have. And they always say if you're going to build a team, you got to have a quarterback and you got to have a guy number two to get to the quarterback. So if we have depth at that spot, that's always a good thing.
Mike Zimmer defense, you got to have those pass rushers and got to have those cornerbacks. And I think he's got a real nice stable of both of those. Sean Reynolds says, happy pre-draft Friday. And that's exactly what it is. In 1 week from now, we will know who the Vikings picked in the first round. That's pretty exciting. Scott Schwab wants us to know that he's here, and we appreciate that, man. It's great having you here. Real purple and gold Minnesota Vikings gives us a big old skull, and I love that.
Yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. Like, this is why we do it, and it's been fun to build up this to build up this little following that we have on YouTube, which is really cool. Especially when you tune in live. I know it's a Friday night, and it's like you said, it's right before the draft, but
right,
because you guys just tuning in makes our day, and I know it makes your day as well. So appreciate that.
So the Vikings signed offensive lineman Dakota Dozier, which I at first I would have never even thought of him coming to Minnesota, but with the connections to the coaching staff, it's kind of cool to see a coach maybe bang the table for a prospect that he's been working on or sees a lot of potential in. And with the Vikings offensive line not having a ton of depth, why not bring in a guy who's been working hard to earn a spot on the roster, whether it's he's going to work his way up through the practice squad or whatever, but he's got some NFL experience. He's from the Jets, so Rick Dennison, who has been working with him, so he's not an unfamiliar face to the organization. And to me, it's exciting just to see what these guys would bring. The year previous, we had an offensive lineman come in that had worked with Kirk Cousins, and that didn't quite work out that great. But I think it's better when the connection is with the coaching staff rather than the players on the field. So we'll wait and see how that all works out.
Yeah, and this was just banging on the obvious drum here. Adding any depth to the O-line will ease the fan base as it is. You guys know my conviction with Vikings fans and the internet is there's nothing we could do to satisfy anyone, even if we won the Super Bowl. But making an effort at any direction for the offensive line is good. We've already made some additions in the offseason. I know I can guarantee you my paycheck right now, we're going to address it at some point in the draft. We don't know where.
Right.
I know it's a big topic at hand for Vikings fans. Just let it all sort itself out. Let these guys who do this for a living figure it out. This is good. More depth is always awesome, you know?
Yeah, and he started 7 games for the Jets in his 5 seasons there. And that may not sound like much, but there are always guys that are looking for that next chance to prove themselves. And this might be it in Minnesota, because right now there's a guard spot up for grabs, or I don't know if it's a tackle spot or who knows. It all depends on which hype you're believing. It's this pre-draft wordsmithery going on.
Wordsmithery, brought to you by Adam Carlson here. I like that.
Let's keep on rolling here and talk about the signings. Cornerback Jalen Myrick was waived, which is kind of sad, but what can you do? We forgot. I kind of forgot about this because for some reason it didn't click to me right away, but this should have been the main topic, was the contract extension of Adam Thielen. I think that was kind of a big move, and I know that a lot of fans really want to see him stay in Minnesota, and I do too. The deal that he was playing on, compared to his peers, he was getting criminally underpaid.
We can tie this around with that last bullet you said. You're talking about a guy's like, hey, who knows? Maybe he'll get a shot. Adam Thielen's a perfect case in Minnesota for just give a guy a shot and see what happens. That's the ceiling that we're talking about. But you're right. Compared to his production versus his pay, he was not paid enough, and he could have demanded that. But I had this inkling, and I'm sure you and the rest of the Vikings fans did, that it would sort itself out. We'd take care of him, and he'd want to stay here because he doesn't want to play for any other team. And I'm very, very happy that they figured out a way. Whoever their finance guy is, man, give them a medal because they're doing a phenomenal job keeping these guys around for the long term. I don't know how they're doing it, but it's happening.
Yeah, somehow the Vikings have been able to work out these deals to keep Barr with a backloaded contract. They've got an incentive-heavy Adam Thielen contract. They're throwing that guaranteed money in some interesting places to space it out. And as long as the salary cap keeps building a little bit each year, Minnesota will be fine, which is strange to think about, but it's the truth.
Yeah, for sure. Man, everybody was so worried. And last year, you know how it was a year ago when we signed Kirk Cousins? And I had a Facebook memory pop up recently. It's like, oh, man, for better or for worse. I said it word for word. Captain Kirk. And it was just to talk about all this guaranteed money. Now look at the deal Russell Wilson just signed. And then Aaron Rodgers, Matt Ryan did it. All these guys are doing it. It's the normal.
Until you said Matt Ryan, I was going to say Super Bowl champions.
Well, we threw Kirk Cousins in there. He's not Super Bowl champ yet.
Yeah, but you don't want to go comparing him to Super Bowl MVPs,
No, it's very.
I had to laugh because NFL.com will post up these things on Facebook, like the Vikings should draft blank, or I hope the Vikings draft blank in the draft this year, or whatever. Did you see my response to that question?
I didn't.
The next Super Bowl MVP.
I love it.
That's the answer. That is the right answer.
Sean Reynolds is in the chat. He said, Brzezinski is Captain Enron. What a finance wizard. That's the best comment of the day so far.
That is a pretty good one there. Let's keep talking about transactions. We'll work our way through here. We got Anthony Harris, Rashad Hill, both signed their tenders. Anthony Harris, I figured would be able to go through because I didn't think any team would match a second rounder on him. And I'm glad they didn't because he's penciled in now to be the team's new starter at safety. And I think, why not? He's played all right.
Yeah, I'm pretty.
You like him, right?
I'm probably a little more happy and biased towards him for personal stuff, being from the Virginia area-ish, whatever. But I think overall, when he's filled into play, he's made plays. He stays healthy, which is good, knock on wood. Why not? You got to put somebody in there. I think and it was crazy because he would always step in and play well. And that's what you want to see from the guys in the depth, on the depth chart. But I think it's about time. I'm glad he stuck around. And I'm going to be honest with you, even though I just hyped up Anthony Harris's now, if we would have got a second round for him, I would have been super pumped for that. But I'm glad that he's on the team because that would have left a glaring need at safety opposite Harrison Smith.
There already is a little bit of a need because past him and Harrison Smith, there really isn't that much depth when you get to like the fourth safety. But again, when you're looking that deep, the question is how talented of a player you're going to get for the money. So, yeah, there's a lot of questions that surround that. But for now, we should be happy that the Vikings found someone to step in and replace Andrew Sendejo, who, was making a lot of money and was struggling to stay on the field with suspensions and injuries. And I get it. I do.
Hey, that's a good question on the spot here. Do you have in your mock draft, Adam, do you have the Vikings taking a safety at any point in this draft?
I do. Earlier today, my final mock draft went up.
At thevikingage.com. You guys check that out right now.
And it's a last name that might be familiar to Vikings fans because the Vikings have drafted someone with this last name before.
All right. I'm going here to make sure that you get another click in there, and I'm going to add a comment just because it makes me feel better when you get more clicks and comments.
We had two other signings too. Wide receiver Jordan Taylor came to the Minnesota Vikings. Right now, he is a bit of a high potential player who's coming off an injury. He had some knee issues, but he's also a return man. So he offers a couple different things, and maybe they'll alternate between him and Amir Abdullah as who's going to do return duties for the Vikings. I don't know. Personally, I'd like to see Taylor beat out Abdullah and earn a spot on special teams and try to work his way up to the wide receivers. But there's also the part of me that just really loves the wide receiver core of this team. And I kind of believe in Chad Beebe and Brandon Zylstra to be those backup guys, come in, do what's needed. I don't know. To me, it's a bit of a situation where you kind of want to see Laquan Treadwell replaced, but the people underneath him show so much potential that you want to see them in their place. So bringing in someone like Jordan Taylor or a draft pick, it kind of feels wrong.
I could see that. I'm sorry, I'm looking at Adam's mock draft right now, and I'm leaving Adam a comment that says, Adam, I love you. All right. No, but going back, I think
good, because I'm going to get slammed for that mock draft because that first rounder is one that I don't think people see coming.
I don't want to jump ahead, but I want to talk about this so much. We'll talk about it later. I'll refrain. You got to this will get you talking for sure. But when you're bringing back your point to Laquan Treadwell, I think everybody's ready to move on. Unless he just has like 1,000-yard, 10-touchdown season, it's not really going to change anybody's mind. But bringing the points of these guys behind him who are the depth there, you want to see him succeed so bad. They just need the opportunity to try. Chad Beebe came in. He didn't do anything flashy last year, but when he was called upon, he caught a couple balls. So, you want to root for a guy like that. I love those guys. I'm always rooting for those guys on the team.
And no, this is not our Mike Rimmers cosplay episode, although with this much red hair, it's something.
No, Adder says, Adder Noir, shout out to you in the chat, too. Just to dress up like Mike Rimmers edition of the podcast. And I was going to be really mean and say, oh, well, I'm still standing upright, but I'm not an offensive lineman, and Mike Rimmers is a millionaire, so he's got that on me.
Yeah, he's unemployed right now, too, so you got him beat there.
It's true.
After the season he had with Minnesota, and after he declined to take a pay cut, and now that he has no job, he's got to be reconsidering things a little bit.
Yeah, I'd have to see what his net worth is, though. He could probably just retire.
I don't judge people based on their money.
I mean, totally. I get that part of it. I don't know. What do you think that when you play poorly and then you don't offer a pay cut, you just think that it's going to happen like that? That stuff is boggling to me. You got to wiggle a little bit there.
Yeah, if you have some bad seasons or something, you got to do something. You do. It's just not right. Finally, the last transaction that we've got on April 15th, quarterback Sean Mannion.
Yeah, we solidified that backup quarterback spot that we were asking about a couple weeks ago.
Or did we?
I'm okay with the veteran coming in. I'm totally okay with that.
Because behind Kirk Cousins, there isn't a quarterback on the roster that's throwing an NFL touchdown.
Yeah, but if Kirk goes down, I don't think we're going to have that Case Keenum thing again for ever.
But behind Kirk Cousins, there is a quarterback who's throwing an interception. Oh, man.
Oh. Yeah, let's not even talk about that. We're just not even going to say that sentence that we're not going to say here. All right, we'll just wish Kirk the best. We'll see what happens from there.
There's debate as to whether or not Mannion is going to become the team's backup, or if Kyle Sloter is going to be in a competition, or if Sloter is the favorite for number 2. You'll find debates about this all over Twitter because it took me a while to realize it, but there is a rather large Kyle Sloter following on Twitter. There are a lot of people hyping this kid, and hopefully he gets an opportunity, but he's got to earn it. And Sean Mannion has 4 years in this league. He's been backing up some players over with the Rams where you're not going to get a start over there. You're not going to get a start in Minnesota, as you're not going to be named the starter. But these are opportunities where he's got to hope he can have a chance to step in. And the one chance he did get to start was not pretty.
Yeah, that's what Adder's saying in the chat. He said, man, it's a bit of a meh signing for him. And I said, yeah, hopefully his time on the bench is I have nothing. I just wanted a vet backup. That's it.
A veteran backup can compete with a younger guy. Yeah. I'm good with that. We might even see the Vikings draft another guy. I wouldn't say too early, but with all the hype too, you hear these things. The Vikings are interested in this guy or that guy, and you never know because I've been hearing some quarterback names in there too, and I'm not sure at what round the Vikings would be willing to take a look at the quarterback or when the draft value finally reaches the point to where it makes sense to take one. I'm not sure, but it's interesting. That's for sure. All right, so let's check out some more of the other stuff that we've had going on since we have not been podcasting, which has been a little while. Let's see. Oh, let's talk about this one for a little while. Play a true or false game with you. One of our writers, Mike Greetzer, over on the Viking Age, he posted an article talking about how the Vikings must choose a running back by pick 114. How do you feel about that? Do you think that the Vikings need to go early to get a bigger, more talented running back to back up Dalvin Cook, or do you feel okay with Mike Boone filling in that spot?
Go get a running back.
Didn't even take much time thinking about it, huh?
Pretty much all I need to say there. No, it's not. And I want Mike Boone to be the third running back, and obviously I want to keep C.J. Ham at the fullback spot. But there's a thing in the NFL, and it's been going on for a while. You know, we had the one back system. You have the Todd Gurley's, the Zeke Elliott's, the Le'Veon Bells. But not every team has that. More often than not, you've got a running back by committee, or you've got a dual-headed snake, to do that. And we did that very well with Jerick McKinnon and Latavius Murray 2 years ago. Dalvin Cook is great, but I will stand by what you guys murdered me for last year because you were right. Dalvin Cook has injury bug concerns. Is he always going to be on the field? And if you're stuck with Mike Boone as your running back number one, I'm not cool with that. Also, just for time of rest on the field, Dalvin Cook's not going to be in every single play. So I would like to see his load carry when it's split with somebody, even if it's more for competition. Because who do we have after Mike Boone?
Hold off in the chat there on that, David Bade. We are going to be discussing that. So no worries about that one. But
he's predicting the future over there.
But what you're talking about, I believe, is absolutely true. I like Mike Boone. I think that he's going to be quite good in whatever role they ask him to be in. Right now, I'm not sure that putting him in that backup rotational role as the 1-2 punch with Cook, I don't know if he's ready for that. I don't know if that's even working towards his strengths. So what I want to do is I want to see the Vikings go out and get this big bowling ball of a running back. Other fans are hoping for the more elusive, shifty receiving running back out of the backfield. I don't know. Do you have a preference?
I'd rather have the bowling ball. I want someone who's big and can block, because blocking has been our worst nightmare the last couple of seasons. And if anyone can step in and help block, that's who I want. Plus, 2 Dalvin Cooks, I feel like, and maybe I'm wrong with this, maybe there are stats to prove me wrong, but I feel like the slimmer and faster guys are more injury prone versus the big bowling balls. They stay healthier most of the time, and that's another concern for me. Latavius Murray wasn't Dalvin Cook. He wasn't shifty and super fast. He was, straight down the middle, and I'll just try to plow over people. And if I get in space, I can make some people miss. But no, I want a bigger guy.
Scott Schwab wants to know who says we can't have Boone and Cook on the field simultaneously. And that would probably be Kirk Cousins, especially with the passing play.
Yeah.
Fewer receivers to go down the field. Neither one of those guys are really amazing blockers. So, yeah, not great. Adam Noir says, need a nice bowling ball behind Cousins when Cook lines up as a receiver. And, yeah, absolutely. But there are some running backs in this draft that are known for their ability to block, that do have the big bodies that can even fall forward for yardage. And those are the guys that you really need, the ones that can pick up that short yardage, the third down situations. So
there are also some tight ends who can block.
It's true. It's definitely true. Let's keep on looking through some of the news here. And we are through that page. I'm just scrolling through some of the stuff on the Viking Age that we wrote about. Some of the opinions and stuff that we've got, along with some of the other news. The Vikings preseason opponents were announced, but we'll talk about that during the scheduling stuff. Not as big of a deal as some of the other things. All right, so what do you think about the leak reportedly that the Vikings were attempting to trade Everson Griffin to the Cleveland Browns?
I don't see it one way or the other. There could be information of this or that, what could have, should have happened. It's the same thing what happened with Anthony Barr. Oh, he's going here, and then he changed his mind. Ultimately, if Everson stayed with us, I could really care less. And I think as long as Everson gets paid, I truthfully think he doesn't care either.
Yeah, Everson Griffin, I think his heart is in Minnesota. And I think that he appreciates what the team has been doing with being patient with him, helping him develop, easing him into a starting role, and really helping him to become an NFL superstar. He is a guy that makes that many Pro Bowls, and he's been top 10 on the NFL's top 100, right?
Yeah, he's been on there a couple of times, especially in recent years, which is always good to get voted on and get love from your peers. But yeah, man, he's finally found his niche and had some really good seasons. Last year was a weird year. Obviously, he had some off the field stuff, but I think that he should return to form. He's not that old yet, so he should return to form and having a whole off season to get ready and get in shape and get his mind right. He should be right back to the guy we know, because he didn't completely fall off a cliff last year.
No, not at all.
Yeah, he was still very much Everson that we know. He's just, we didn't know the timeline when he was coming back, and then he had to readjust to come back in. So I think I expect big things of him, as all of us do, for this season.
All right, so the last, I'd say quick hit, but we're already like a half an hour into this quick hit. But we had a lot to fill in on, so and we haven't really even speculated too much as far as that. But NFL draft, they're doing that cool thing again where day 2, legends team will come in to announce the picks. And I hate it when the team trades out of these picks because I love seeing these guys take the stage and do their thing. Round 2, when the Vikings take their pick, it'll be announced by Pro Football Hall of Famer Carl Eller, which is amazing. Whoa. And if you haven't seen Carl Eller, he is one of the most stylish men you'll ever see. As soon as he walks in the room, you just know that it's like football royalty coming in.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, our second rounder, Carl Eller, will be there. Round 3, one of the 50 greatest Vikings will be on hand. Tight end Steve Jordan.
Awesome.
Oh. And I know that Mr. Kyle West, he knows Steve Jordan for something a little different than his time on the football field. So he always comes back to that skit that Mr. Perfect did where he threw the football to himself. It was a skit from the WWE where Mr. Perfect was kind of showing how great he is, and tight end Steve Jordan was there, and they were showing some nice pass routes and stuff. It wasn't Steve Jordan's best job acting, but it was definitely interesting. As a football and wrestling fan, it's cool to see him out there taking the stage.
Yeah, that's always fun.
Let's see what we got going on in the chat here. Some of the AAF signings we grabbed seem promising. Yeah, and some of them were positions of need too, which is pretty cool. We saw linebackers, we saw safeties, we saw some backup defensive ends being signed, and each of these guys looks like they might be able to contribute down the road, or if not right now. So it's pretty exciting. Kyle Smith says, "I was just in Nashville." Oh yeah?
Yeah, I'm just going to talk about that. So it's funny that the draft is in Nashville. I was there last week, a week ago this time. It was amazing. I went on vacation. Country music capital of the world, which you guys know I'm a big fan of country music. And First Street was already shut down 2 weeks in advance because they were building the stage. It's going to be massive. While I filibuster here and looking to see exactly how many people live in Nashville.
I don't know, but do you remember when the draft was in Chicago?
Yeah.
And they built the big stage. Then there was the ocean of people. Then they had another section behind those people.
It's going to be worse.
The draft is such a big day. And even more so, I saw outlets all around the internet just slamming the schedule release day stuff. Why is this such a big occasion? Why is there a TV show hosted to it? Why is everybody glued to their internet? Because it's fun.
It's the NFL. That's why. Because the NFL shits on everything else because it's so popular. Of course.
I mean, does it need a 2-hour special on ESPN2? No, it really doesn't.
It's ESPN2. Nobody watches ESPN2. It's fine.
Everybody watches ESPN2. Come on.
I was saying that in sarcasm. It's the NFL. You could stretch it out for 3 hours if you really, really wanted to. They'll talk and they'll make predictions because that's what they do.
For me, one of the most fun parts of it is taking a look at some games that I was hoping to plan to go to this season. And it just so turns out that through the 3 games I was eyeing up this year were Oakland, because I got a friend that's a Raiders fan and really wants to see that happen. And then the next one is the Washington Redskins. Again, I got a buddy, the big Washington Redskins fan, lives in Michigan. It's a good reason to get out, have some fun. And then what's sad is that Thursday night Redskins game turns into a Sunday night Kansas City Chiefs game. And I got people that are trying to talk me into going down to Kansas City. And I don't know if I want to go down to Kansas City.
I don't want to watch that game. Compared to what it was last year, I'm going to watch it, of course. But
now the Raiders, yeah, I'll watch the Raiders. That's fine.
Yeah, when we play the Broncos, I'll be sure to tune in for that. But the Chiefs, my dad's a humongous Chiefs fan. We were talking about it earlier. He's like, hey, man, you want to make a trip to Kansas City? I was like, no, F you. No, I don't. I'm not going to wear a purple jersey in a sea of red. That's okay.
I'd be fine with that. I mean, it's just, I'm getting to the point where I'm starting to worry about the streak, man.
See, I'm the same way. And I'll be honest, I'll say it because a lot of people won't, or maybe they feel stupid if they think they say this out loud. I don't want to go watch my team get the shit kicked out of them. And I'm not saying that's going to happen. We've seen the Vikings upset some people that they shouldn't have upset, and then we've seen them lose to Buffalo Bills last year at home. I mean, who knows? But no, I'd like to go when the probability is, yeah, we're probably going to kick the crap out of this team. This will be fun.
Oh, yeah. I've gotten to see some pretty good games. I got to see the 10-sack game with the Detroit Lions, which when you were watching it live, it didn't feel like he was getting sacked that much. And then it just kept happening and happening and happening. It was pretty awesome.
Oh, I was telling you guys about Nashville as we were jumping back and forth.
Yeah.
691,000 people as of 2017. The census says they were expecting another 500,000. So it's going to be over 1 million people there based on the draft. The music was fun. Oh, my God, it was so much fun. There's live music everywhere all the time, all the bars, all the streets. And there's a lot of fun stuff to do. There's a lot of history there as far as the country music side. I visited the Johnny Cash Museum, which is really cool. The Grand Ole Opry is there. Real cool time if you guys like nightlife and a lot of the other good stuff, too. If you're a single man, there's lots of bachelorette parties there, so you can go dabble in that. Bachelorette party capital of the world, I swear. Like every corner, there's another. And really good food. Really good southern fried, terrible for your body food, which I enjoyed a lot of.
I admit I don't know much about Nashville. I don't travel south too often, so
yeah,
it might be something for me to take a look at. Sometimes I got to leave the comfort of my cold Minnesota, Michigan area.
I will tell you this: the Titan Stadium is crap. It looks really shitty. It looks really, really bad. They're due for an upgrade like yesterday, so I'm sure they'll get around to that eventually.
So let's talk about some of these scheduling here. Start off with the preseason. We've got week 1 at the Saints, week 2 versus the Seahawks, week 3 against the Cardinals, and week 4 against the Bills. Personally, I'm glad that the week 4 game is against the Bills because I don't want to play the Bills in the regular season after what happened last year. That was just not fun.
Yeah, I was driving home today, coming in to take a test for a job here in Charlotte. It's about a 3.5-hour drive, and I decided to watch the highlights.
Oh, wow.
Kirk Cousins highlights from last year, and the only highlights from that game were in the fourth quarter because we had no points. It was such a bad game.
Not good. How do you feel about the preseason playing an opponent you're going to play in the regular season? Do you like that? Does it not matter too much to you? Or?
I don't feel like it does because, number one, are all your starters going to play the whole game? And number two, we've seen guys shine in the preseason that look like crap in the regular season and vice versa. Guys that didn't have a strong preseason, they hold their own when the regular season comes around. But number three, and most of all, is you're not going to give away too many secrets when it comes to as far as play calling and stuff like that. And even when you have your backups in, are you going to run the plays? Are they going to be executed the same way as they would be by the starters? No, I don't look too much into that.
I don't like it, but I don't think it matters too much. And those two things combined makes it kind of awkward for me.
I mean, I can see that basis.
But yeah, I mean, it's going to happen, so I don't have the power to write the NFL and say, hey, stop making this happen. So that is the way it's going to go down. So let's talk about the first quarter of the NFL schedule here. Minnesota opening up at home against the Atlanta Falcons. Two of the newest stadiums in the NFL. Teams that are both considered to be ultra talented but underachieving.
Yep.
And this should be a good measuring stick opener for the Vikings.
I'm glad that we started the season at home. Atlanta will be well removed from how crappy they were last year. It'll be a tough game, but I'm glad it's in Minnesota.
Absolutely. They have the receivers there, so that's going to be a game where they're going to need to pay close attention, have really strong defense, and if they get in a shootout, we'll see if Minnesota can finally put some points on the board against those tough teams. Week 2, Minnesota hits the road, end up in Green Bay to take on the Packers. An early meeting for the border battle. What do you think about that?
I don't know if I want to throw this in now or at the end, but I guess I'll do it now since I teased it. But I said to one Kyle West today while we talked on Facebook. You guys that follow the show know that he's one of our hosts. And I said, if all goes well, barring stupid injuries and this coaching thing, the Gary Kubiak thing, I'm going to be riding that train till the very, very end because I think this is one of the most underrated acquisitions that we've had and additions over the offseason. But if everything goes to plan and everything goes well, I do believe the Vikings could go to the NFC title game playing either the Packers or the Eagles. The Packers have made so many good moves in the offseason. And after that bitter taste in their mouth, a new head coach and some really good defensive players they've added, I'm not looking forward to playing Green Bay as I didn't care as much in the last couple of years. I don't like playing Green Bay this early either, man. I really don't.
See, the NFC, my two teams that scare the hell out of me, the Saints still scare me. Way too much talent. And the Rams, until you can figure out a way to stop them from putting points on the board, it's going to be tough.
My only argue for that, and I totally get your stuff that you're saying there.
Another year of experience for Goff, too, and he won't look like a little, shaking guy out there on the big stage because I understand you're going to get outplayed by Tom Brady. That happens.
Yeah, that happens most of the time.
But, Goff is getting experience, and if he can have his key weapon back in the run in the backfield, it's going to be ouch.
My only argument to that is I totally see that. They are very, very good teams. They have great rosters and good coaches. Is Drew Brees is you can see the decline over these last couple of years, even though the team has advanced further and further in. You can see the decline. He's not going to stay there forever. And the other part of that is look at history. I'm a firm believer in history repeating itself. And every year you don't see the same teams in the NFC Championship games. You just don't. Now, you'll see a lot of the same teams enter the playoffs, but when the playoffs hit, you guys know it's fucking pandemonium and it's chaos. And the Chicago and the Eagles game, the Eagles had no business advancing. They played a good game, but Chicago shot themselves in the foot.
Mm-hmm.
That's just my opinion on it. Green Bay is going to come back with a vengeance this year, and I don't like that because I don't like when the Packers are good. Chicago is still very good. They've made some good stuff. This rounding it all out as we get back to the schedule, this might be the toughest division of football again.
Do you think the distractions in Green Bay are actually helping the team or what?
I think that getting McCarthy out of there was much needed for Rodgers, and I think 100% the acquisitions that they've made in the offseason, they've just been loading themselves up on defense. They made some good offensive signings too, and they've got multiple picks too. I think they got 2 in the first round. They've done some shuffling, man. They're going to add some talent. They're going to be a pain in the ass again, which I really, really don't like.
Absolutely. Well, week 3 things should slow down a little bit, and the Oakland Raiders come to town, and that's going to be a game that hopefully the Minnesota Vikings don't overlook because there's a chance that that's what happened last year with teams who really didn't deserve to be even competitive with the Vikings and staying in games. And Oakland can't be one of those teams that's allowed to do that.
Yeah, Oakland, I don't know what to think of that. They do have very good they do have a good GM now. Mike Mayock, I believe they acquired him. He's a really good evaluator of talent. I don't know that I believe in John Gruden as a coach coming back. I didn't see anything, but it was a 1-year sample. Who knows? I don't know. That'll be a fun game. That'll be a good test because they're going to have a lot of new pieces. And they've got Antonio Brown. So the Antonio Brown-Xavier Rhodes matchup is always fun to watch.
Oh, yeah, that is. Not as fun as Beckham, though.
Oh, yeah. Well, we get that. We're going to bring that one up here short. Oh, no. He's not with the Giants anymore. Damn it.
Nope.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Week 4, Vikings hit the road to go to the Chicago Bears. This is 2 divisional road games in the first quarter of the schedule here, and I don't know. I'd rather have a little bit of more confidence playing those divisional home games first, but looking at the schedule the way it is, you kind of got to take it as it falls, and at least it's going to be a better weather game than heading to Soldier Field with the just absolute crap that the field gets to be later.
I didn't even notice that. I'm looking at the schedule. Sorry, I'm jumping ahead, guys. But all of these divisional games that we played the first half of the season are all away. So all of the divisional games after the second stretch of the season are all at home. That's really cool.
Yeah, it's different, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm not used to that.
getting out of the really cold weather, sloppy games, which I think benefits Kirk Cousins.
Yo, 100%. That's the only upside. I know I was bitching about the Packers game being week 2, that early, but at least it's not going to be in Green Bay like it was the last couple of years in like week 15 when it's freezing outside.
Right. Week 15, week 5, the Vikings will head to Jersey to take on the New York Giants.
Ugh. Little former Vikings rivalry going on up there with Pat Shurmur, the head coach last year, with that dumpster fire in New York. It makes me really happy that they'll still have Eli Manning because I feel really confident playing against him.
Yeah, the Giants don't scare me too much yet, but who knows? Maybe they'll do something crazy leading up to the season, or
they do have
some talent together.
He's an absolute monster of a running back, so we'll keep an eye on that.
Oh, he is. Yeah. He is an absolute monster. And then week 6, it's home against the Philadelphia Eagles, where I'm sure you're going to see some struggling.
Yeah, I mentioned earlier for the NFC Championship game, it could be the Packers or the Eagles versus the Vikings. If all goes to plan for us, would the opponents, man, the Eagles they've got it all figured out right now. And I truthfully think they should have kept Nick Foles. I think it just clicks better there. But they have Carson Wentz. They're running with him. The good thing about this game is we're not going to Philly. The last 2 seasons we had to go to Philly. Now they get to come to us, and I love us at home.
No more battery-shaped bruises on our players.
That's terrible.
It's a joke, but it's not a joke, It's one of those things.
It's a joke, but it isn't.
Week 7, heading to Detroit.
I'm not worried about Detroit. That's sad because they swept us a couple years ago, but they just can't seem to get their crap together. And that Matt Patricia thing, that did not work out well last year.
It's still crazy to look back. And yeah, the Vikings have had a lot of close calls and not quite reached that championship game and stuff like that. But the Lions haven't even really been super competitive in a long time, and they've wasted the talents of so many players. It's disgusting, really.
You know what's sad too? Speaking of wasting talent and stuff, and I'll get back to the chat, guys. I see you guys in here talking in there. We'll get back to that. But looking at this, the timeline for the Lions, you want a guy that you can depend on. Like you want a Kirk Cousins or a Matt Stafford, somebody that you don't have to question. Like, I don't know who the quarterback's going to be. But think about some of the teams that he could have been on. Matt Stafford with just a little more talent and better coaching over the years. Yeah. They've completely wasted the last 10 years of Matt Stafford. I feel terrible. He's a stat machine. I'll give him that. He's got a shitload of touchdowns, a shitload of yards, but he has nothing to show for it. You got to hope that bank account is curbing all those losses that he has to keep taking in.
You've got to be in a certain mindset to just keep taking that beating over and over and over again and start. I know in my job, I'd be questioning myself. What can I do to take this team to the next level? Everything I've been doing for the past decade hasn't been working.
And the other part of that, too, he graduated from the University of Georgia. He's in Detroit, Michigan. And I'm not saying anything bad about anything in the greatest country in the world, in the United States of America, but Detroit is not exactly my number one destination to live and or work.
No, I wouldn't even want a vacation there. No, thanks.
I feel bad now that we're talking about it for Matt Stafford.
Yeah, this isn't the Matt Stafford pity party because week 7 comes to an end and then week 8 rolls into town.
Okay.
And we're going to have a fun matchup.
I have to take over for these next 3 games.
Okay.
This is where everything falls to shit this season for me. The Redskins game at home in Minnesota. You think it looks good? It's not because it's the Sunday night game. And we all know how the
Thursday night
game. I'm sorry about that. It's on Fox. Thursday night game. You know how we do in short weeks and in prime time, and I don't like it. And it's a former Viking quarterback matching up against us. I don't know who the Redskins are going to draft. They're probably going to take a quarterback at some point, but Case Keenum is in Washington, and it'll be fun to watch us play against him. I'm not really concerned with the Redskins, but this is a primetime game, and that's what scares me.
Last time the Vikings played the Washington Redskins at home on Thursday Night Football, I was there to watch the Minnesota Vikings get that W.
Very nice.
I'm hoping to be there again this year, too.
I hope that you make that, too, man. That'll be fun. We can keep that streak alive.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, this next week's going to be rough. So that was October 24th. There's a long break from Thursday to the next Sunday, 1 p.m. Eastern on Fox. We are visiting the Kansas City Chiefs with the reigning MVP in the NFL, Mahomes. That's going to be a rough one.
Yeah, well,
they've lost some pieces, but they're still a juggernaut. Probably one of the few top 3-4 favorites to win the Super Bowl again. He's just a phenomenal quarterback. It's kind of gross. If he's not on your team, you're like, oh, God, I don't want to watch this guy again.
right.
That'll be interesting. It'll be a good test for the defense, and we'll see if he's still slinging it all over the field in year 3.
The defense is still going to be the question, but the Chiefs have been making a lot of moves to beef up their defense to have a chance against going up against teams that just are so smart. The New England Patriots play smart football, and you need a strong defense and a great offense to beat them. And they were missing the defense last year, so they are really doing their best to get that up and running. And I don't want to see if that team can get it all together because what they already had was frightening.
That kid's going to win a Super Bowl at some point. He's too talented not to. And I hate to say that because that means the Vikings didn't win, but it's going to happen at some point.
So the next week you've got like a controversial quarterback coming in as to whether or not he's even the guy.
Well, here's the weird part too. So we're playing the NFC East and the AFC West, and back-to-back road games. We play the division winners. So week 9, we're at the Chiefs. Here's another terrible game, guys. A Sunday night game at 8:20 on NBC. We're at the Dallas Cowboys. They won the NFC East last year. They've only gotten better. They finally got a receiver, a number 1 receiver, Amari Cooper. Their linebacking core is awesome. Their line's still pretty good. I don't like this game either.
Their pass defense has gotten so good.
Yeah. And they just they re-signed I can't say DeMarcus Lawrence.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they
I still don't buy Dak. I think Dak's a weak point on their team.
Yeah, they have Zeke Elliott. We haven't
else around him is just.
Yeah, I don't even point Dak to be in the weakest group there. I think that their coach needs to be fired, but he's such a Jerry Jones yes man. He's not going to leave anytime soon. But this is another primetime game on the road. I'm hoping the Vikings don't shit the bed and roll around in it like they did this past season. It was ugly. But we'll see. That's week 9 and week 10 against some really, really good teams. Rounding it out to week 11, November 17th, 1 p.m. Eastern on CBS, we host the Broncos. Joe Flacco and them Broncos.
Yeah.
They don't scare me that much.
The Broncos have used so many draft picks on building an elite defense that just hasn't really showed up a lot.
Yeah.
I don't understand it. And then they go and they let one of their top receivers walk. And you're really left wondering what Denver's really doing, what their plan for the future is.
Yeah, outside of Von Miller and that running back who just came on the scene last year, I can't really tell you anyone else there besides Joe Flacco. I don't really know of anyone else that's there. I don't really know what John Elway's doing there. I mean, he won a Super Bowl. We got Peyton Manning and all that, but yeah, I don't know. Other than that, besides that super high of winning the Super Bowl, it's been full of lows for them. There's been a lot of questionable things that went on there, but we won't talk about Broncos anymore. Week 12 is the best week of the season because it's a bye and it's super late in the season, which I really like. And it's
later buys.
It's right before we start December. So after the first 3 quarters, right about So the next game's on December 2nd. So yeah, right around the Thanksgiving time frame, we'll have a bye week, which is really good. I love the late bye weeks.
Yeah. Week 13, heading to Seattle. We touched on this a little bit earlier, and I don't like going to Seattle on the road. It's going to be
it's a prime time game.
Tough. It's going to be prime time. It's going to be just Monday Night Football, big stage. A game is going to have some implications on the playoffs for sure. And by week 13, fans and media are already going to be talking playoffs. So when they look at this, it's going to be a lot of pressure. A lot of pressure.
Yeah, I don't like that. Russell Wilson just signed a huge deal. The guys in the chat were talking about that earlier. So I'm not sure what they're going to do other talent-wise, maybe find some rookies that can impact. But this is December 2nd. It's going to be cold. It's in Seattle. It's prime time. I'm not looking forward to this. And God, when's the last time we beat the Seahawks? Like, they beat us in the playoffs. They beat us earlier the season before. They beat us last year. Like, God, man, they just had our number for so long. It's time.
That's okay. We'll get them in the preseason.
Yeah, there you go.
We'll get them. I do want to say hi to Devin Gonzalez in the chat. And Adam Noir says this schedule is pretty nasty, and yeah, it is. Yeah. There are some really tough games on here.
Week 14, December 8th, we play the Lions in Minnesota. That'll be a fun one. I would probably go to that one of all the games that I could pick out on this list. No, yes. I take that back.
Sunday noon. I enjoyed so much going to that Vikings-Lions game. It never felt like the Minnesota was out of control that entire game, and I just got to sit back and watch a team do its work. It was nice.
Yeah, with that many sacks, that's a lot of fun. You beat me, man. I had the record for the podcast. I got to see them sack Cam Newton 8 times at one time in Carolina, but 10 times against Matt Stafford. That's a lot of fun.
It's pretty crazy. Week 15.
Ugh.
I don't buy the Chargers. I can't buy them. I don't have enough faith in Phillip Rivers to be consistent enough to be a threat. But if we get the I'm on the ball Phillip Rivers, this is going to be tough.
It's regular season Phillip Rivers. I trust him to win.
Regular season. I don't know. It's fantasy playoffs Phillip Rivers, which means
maybe I'll draft him in fantasy so he'll do terrible. Maybe that'll be my ploy. That's what I'll do. I'll take a running back in the first round, and I'll snag him in the second or third, so he'll do terrible.
Every time I've ever taken him in fantasy football, fantasy playoffs, he just puts up a big old egg. I think the last time I drafted him, he gave me -4 in the fantasy playoffs.
That's funny you mentioned it, and I have to do it because I'm at my parents' house, near Charlotte. My brother's a huge San Diego/LA fan, so there it is, right over there. He was telling me how Phillip Rivers is the truth, and I was like, didn't you guys get Eli Manning in the draft and Drew Brees? You guys had 3 Super Bowl opportunities, and you don't have one. Welcome to the Vikings, man.
They made those decisions they made. It's weird looking back on them. Then we got back-to-back home games.
And division games. The only thing I don't like is this is 2 weeks in a row, back-to-back primetime Sunday night games, I believe. Or is that Thursday? Is that another Thursday game?
Monday night, and then it's a Sunday.
That's right.
That Week 17 game, I'm going to say that if the Vikings do pretty well this season, that is definitely going to be flexed.
Yeah. So right now, like we were saying for the divisional stuff at the end, we end on 2 home games in the division. Week 16, December 23rd, 8:15 Eastern on ESPN against the Packers. The Week 17 against the Bears. Man, this is like the 4th year in a row we end it with the Bears.
Yeah.
I don't like that. Change it up a little bit.
I understand what the NFL is doing with the end of the schedule, making it more division heavy, putting possible division winning situations in play in those last couple weeks. I get it.
I get it now. You're not going to put us with the Lions because they're usually pretty bad. So you'll put us with the Packers or the Bears at the end. So maybe people will watch to see who sneaks in the playoffs. I get it now. I don't like it, but I understand it.
Yeah, they say that putting together these schedules, there's a lot of science to it. And once you start figuring out why they're doing some of what they're doing here, it starts to make sense. And you can see the viewership just going up as you look at some of these matchups.
Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and say it. I'm going to be that douchey guy who predicts it based off the schedule, and we haven't even had the draft yet. But I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I see this being a 10-6 year. I do think there will be improvements based on the coaching staff that we have added. Depends on how the draft goes. I'm sure they're going to do well. I'm glad to see a lot of people back healthy. Emerson Griffin, Dalvin Cook, all those guys. I see a 10-6 schedule here. There are some rough games here. There's a stretch at the Chiefs, at the Cowboys, at the Seahawks, at the Chargers. And here's my algorithm or formula for this too, by the way. There are 5 primetime games listed on here. And I'm assuming that if we lose all of those, which we shouldn't lose all of them, and then factor in a random loss in there somewhere, we should be at about 10-6 and fit in as a wild card. So there you have it.
All right. I need to see how this offense is going to work before I say anything, because I still have faith in the Mike Zimmer defense, but that offense needs to prove it to me. They do.
Which is crazy because a year removed, man, they were scoring points left and right.
All right, so let's end things up by talking about that first rounder and where they're going to go with it, because we teased at it a little bit earlier. And this is one of the first years where I'm not really sure where Minnesota is going to go. Last year, everybody was talking offensive line. I called it with cornerback, and I felt really good about that. This year, I don't really feel good about putting any position as far as to what the Vikings are going to take. So I'm kind of scrambling a little bit. I'm looking at needs and down the road and salary caps and contracts, and it's weird because there's so many players that could make sense, but I'm not one of those guys this year that says it's got to be offensive line in round one.
I'm going to say this just because it's very random and very, very generic too, but it all depends on the other teams, man. There's always a shocker there at some point where there's going to be a team that's going to make you go, what? Like a couple of years ago, Mitch Trubisky going second overall to the Bears. I was like, I called it, and I was still there with one of my best friends, but everybody was like, wait, what? That totally shaped everything. You thought maybe it would come later in the later picks like 10, 11, 12. There's going to be a team that's going to reach. There's going to be a team that has a glaring need, or maybe they don't have a certain need as much, and they're going to take a stud player like that. Like, we'll go ahead and talk about it because we're going to talk about it here, but the tight end from Iowa, not the one that you're going to talk about.
TJ
Hawkinson. They're saying he's going to be Gronk 2.0. There might be a team.
He's going to be a top 10 pick, and there are people mocking him to Minnesota. He's not going to be there.
He's not going to be there. He's going to leave and go to Jacksonville or Buffalo by the top 10 picks. He's going to be gone. And as much as I would love for him to fall,
Detroit could grab him. Green Bay could grab him.
They're going to find that need. So it's really going to be dependent on who's around. Which I think this is the best case scenario for the Vikings. I really, really do, because could I see 3 or 4 linemen being taken? Yeah, and I'll be honest with you. I think that's what's going to happen. They're going to have some teams that are going to, you think they're going to go one way, and they're going to be like, nope, we're going to protect the quarterback. Screw that. I'm not going to be mad if they don't take a lineman in the first round. I don't want them to reach. I don't want Matt Khalil to happen again. I know Matt Khalil was a 4th-round pick overall. I don't want that to happen again. I want them to take someone who's going to be on the team for the next 6, 7, 8 years. I don't care what position that's in.
Adam Noir says, so many good offensive line prospects, and I would not be shocked at all if they went somewhere else for the first pick. And that's actually one of the main things I'm trying to say. I've been watching all these offensive line players on tape, and I've been watching so many players that can fill in at so many different spots. I love so many of these prospects. Dalton Reisner, I'd love to see him come, but he's somewhere in between, like a 1st and 2nd rounder. You got Cody Ford, Jonah Will. You got all these guys that are in this draft, and it's going to push them down the chain a bit, because teams are going to see value in drafting one later, or possibly trading up to get one a little bit later on, and grabbing that top talent player at a position where they think that there's going to be a need. And yes, right now tight end is not a major need for the Vikings. This season, they have players in place who are going to do a great job. They've got Tyler Conklin, who they're hoping can develop after being a draft pick last year. But is he the type of talent that someone like Noah Fant would be at 18?
That's the other thing, too. Kind of going off on a little bit of the sideways here. I've seen the other drafts you were talking about it earlier. People are mocking TJ Hawkinson to the Vikings. He's not going to be there at 18.
No.
Happen. A lot of people have put Ed Oliver.
Ed Oliver will be long gone, too.
He's not going to be there. He's not going to be there at 18.
We're dreaming. Those are nice scenarios.
He's going to be there in the top 10 or 12. You got to be realistic about it. And I think that's what changes the dynamic. I think this is the best case scenario for the Vikings. I don't think they're going to reach for anyone. I think whoever's there, I think it'll be a good value. And like I said earlier, I just want whoever they pick to be on this team 8 years from now, because they were a great pick. They were a solid starter. And, hopefully, if it all goes right, they'll be able to jump in like Mike Hughes did last year and make an impact on the team. That'd be cool.
The two positions in this draft where I see the most talent are when it comes to that left side of the offensive line, filling in that left guard spot, or filling in the defensive tackle spot next to Linval Joseph. And weirdly enough, those are two spots where there could be some kind of future planning for a player to take over there. So would I be surprised to see a pass rushing defensive tackle being taken in the first round if one drops? No, not at all. Would I be surprised to see one of the better blockers come in, maybe an offensive tackle, move Riley Rafe to guard? Would that shock me? No. And this is one of those years where it could be so many names the Vikings say. And I would be just absolutely shocked. And I've been shocked since the Minnesota Vikings selected Anthony Barr. And that worked out pretty well.
I messed up that pick. I picked linebacker, but I picked C.J. Mosley that year.
I didn't see the fit with Barr. I didn't. But with the way Mike Zimmer came in and just changed that defense to being so much more aggressive, it worked out well. And now with the Vikings coaching staff being so offensively turned over, new faces, you've got to kind of wonder if they're going to try to put their mark on this team offensively. What their vision for the squad is. Because let's kind of be honest here. If it's not a defensive tackle, it's going to be an offensive player. We all agree with that, right?
I think so.
Okay, so it could be so many different players based on that scouting room and the coaches and how everything just seems to fall in the draft. Some of the surprise picks, players fall, players rise. I don't know. It's such a strange situation. Gatto Noir says, I've seen mocks where we take a center and move Elflein to guard. How do you think he would do there? I don't know. Last season, I think Elflein still lacked a little bit of confidence when he came back from his injury, and he didn't play at his highest level. I think that having this offseason to kind of work on his mental state and work hard to rehab a little bit more even and just get to where he needs to be. I think we'll see him take another step in a positive direction this year. I would prefer to see him stay at guard, but I'm not really 100% sure that having another center is the spot because one of the players the Vikings picked up in free agency, it also plays center. So you might have a situation where you got Easton and Berger and all these players on the offensive line. I know Minnesota loves the interchangeable parts, but I don't think the interior interchangeable with center is really what they want. I think that what they'd want is a nice big pass blocker rather than maybe some road grader. And I know that you kind of want to find some balance of it depending on what's available, but the Vikings run game has been bad. The Vikings pass game has struggled to protect. And that's got to be the key is right now is to protect Kirk Cousins. This guy take a little bit of priority over the run game. So you want that run block specialist, and at the left guard position, you're going to want that. And I don't think that's Pat Elflein's real strength.
I'm with you 100%. And you got to look at what Kubiak did very well too. They do a lot of zone blocking. They're going to do that here. He's going to bring that in. There's going to be better pass protection. I want to relate this to something that happened with us previously. And I've mentioned this before on the podcast 1 or 2 times, but remember back when we drafted Christian Potter, you remember the 2 picks before him? You remember who that was? J.J. Watt.
Okay.
We were very, very close to that. You guys might not think that we need a Noah Fant on the team, or you're like, oh, my God, why did we pick another defensive tackle? We have a great defense and blah, blah, blah. These guys aren't going to be in their prime forever. Linval Joseph, as much as I love him, he's not going to play like this forever. You got to plan ahead. And if you can find a guy who's going to be the next Linval, or who I know I'm referencing TJ Hawkinson here, but if you have a chance to go get the next Gronk, you go get the next Gronk. I don't give a shit what position you're at or what pick you're at. If it's going to be a guy who's going to transcend your team and catapult your offense, you got to do that. And you made a very good point earlier, which is why I love doing this podcast with you. We've been so defensive-centric these last 5 seasons. Now we're going to have an offensive, I won't say genius, but an offensive guru that comes in. Won a Super Bowl recently, right? And how did they win the Super Bowl? With noodle arm Peyton Manning running the hell out of the ball with a good defense. Well, we got a good defense. Let's figure out how to run the ball. They're going to want to make an impact. I love the way you said that. And if they want to put their mark on this, why would it not be with a fantastic tight end? Because Kyle Rudolph, I don't know, he might not be. This is in the last year of his contract. We'll see what happens. I love Rudy. Or I don't know. We'll see where it goes. This is the funnest draft I can think of in recent years because we literally don't have any idea what they're going to do. We have no idea.
No, and if you ask casual fans on the streets, like, gotta be O-line, gotta be O-line. You might be a little surprised if it's not, buddy.
I don't know. I'm not going to say it's not going to be because there's a lot of prospects.
Oh, it's definitely a good chance.
But we'll wait and see. And if they do pick one in the first round, cool. That'd be great. I'm not going to complain about that at all. But we'll see. It's going to be a fun one. It's going to be really fun.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing how all this shakes out on draft day. And we don't have to wait too much longer. And I think that we're going to try to get another show up pretty close to when the draft is over. And even if we end up going on Saturday or Sunday or whatever, we'll see what we can do because I'd love to get more of the guys involved here and get some more opinions because the more people you can get talking about football, the more different opinions you can have come in. You can have some nice debates. So yeah, hopefully we can get that going a little bit. Me and Mr. Smith don't disagree too often, but when we do, it's fun. So maybe we'll find some of that too.
I have to shout out Adder again. He said, do you know a fantastic tight end? All right. Appreciate the pun. We're going to cut you off after that one.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether to boo you or praise you, but I think either way, you get the nods.
You get a dad clap for that one.
Yeah, that's all I really have for this show. I don't have anything else I really want to add. I do want to thank everyone who tunes in, hangs out in the chat, shares our stuff, likes our stuff, comments on our stuff on social media, likes, subscribes, whatever's. Because it helps us grow, it helps us develop, and we absolutely love having this community of fans come with us and talk football, enjoy football. It's just so good.
Yeah, we really appreciate you guys in the chat. I'm going to log out of the chat now or exit out of the window there. Shit, everybody. We'll get the other guys back soon. Just like I said, scheduling issues. We'll get the four of us or at least three of us back before you know it. But for the meantime, for you guys sticking around, and we had a little bit of a gap between these shows, and look how many people showed up. We love you guys. We really do.
Absolutely. And hey, if you can check out my stuff on the Viking Age, I'd appreciate it even more. I got some good stuff going out over there. Right now I'm piecing together my favorite 4th round picks in Minnesota Vikings franchise history. And man, they have had some really bad ones. The 4th round has not been good to Minnesota unless they're picking pass rushers. So this is going to be a fun one. And there's going to be some names on that list that don't deserve to be on a top 10 list.
I like that. I'll double down on that. Go to thevikingage.com. It'll tell you which each little tile, they have a cool layout on that website to get all your Viking news. Adam was going through the list right now doing the news for the show from that site that he works on. That should tell you how much Viking information they have. But to double down on Adam's point, find the ones, they'll tell you the editor, the writer's name there. Find the stuff that Adam writes, click on it, go to the bottom. You can log in at the bottom and leave a comment. When you do that, you bump Adam's numbers up and he makes good money. So help my guy out here,
That'd be great. I'd appreciate it. And I like the people that gave us thumbs up. Thank you for that.
Yeah. All right, guys.
We do have the one final question here.
Oh, okay.
Adam Noir wants to know if we're going to have Discord active during the draft. And I hadn't thought about it, but maybe.
Yeah, why not? Okay, I'll double down. We'll wait for that. For you to reply, Adder. Should we start it at the very beginning, or do you want to start it around where we pick? I would do the whole thing. I love the draft, but
I think it'd be fun to do the whole thing and kind of guess as we go along.
That would be fun.
I think that'd be good because I'm going to be watching the first round by myself here. I got invited to a second round party, which is kind of strange, but it's going to be interesting, and I don't know if I'm going to go yet, but some Vikings writers are going to be there, and maybe a little bit of fun. So who knows?
That'd be cool.
But yeah, we'll think about that Discord thing because I hadn't even considered it, but it sounds like it might be a fun idea.
See, this is why we keep you guys around. You guys give us more ideas for the show.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you everyone again for tuning in, and hopefully we will be discussing some stuff, maybe in Discord, but for sure later on. Stay classy, Minnesota.